Hello and welcome to the presentation. My name is Tom Carroll. I'm a Senior Advisor on Communication and Policy with global public health organisation Vital Strategies. And before I start, I'd just like to acknowledge that I'm recording this presentation in the suburb of Coogee in Sydney, Australia. This is the land of the Gadigal and Bidjigal people, the clans of the Great Eora Nation, and I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge Aboriginal leaders past, present and emerging. I'd also like to take the opportunity to acknowledge the co-authors of this presentation, Nalan Singh Negi, Irina Morozova, Adrian Bowman, Nandita Burakutla and Sandra Mullen. What I'm going to be talking to you about today in this presentation is some research that we've undertaken looking at the findings of formative message testing studies on speeding campaigns undertaken as part of the Bloomberg Philanthropies Initiative for Global Road Safety. As background, we know that risk of road traffic death is 3 times higher in low and middle income countries than it is in high income countries, and that mass media social marketing campaigns can play an important role in road safety programs by increasing road safety knowledge, promoting safety behaviours specifically, increasing knowledge of relevant road safety legislation and enforcement, and by contributing to the development of shared social norms for road safety. We're currently in the 3rd phase of the Bloomberg Philanthropies Initiative for Global Road Safety. What I'm going to be talking to you about today is research undertaken as part of the 2nd phase from 2015 to 2019. And during that campaign, the program assisted cities around the world to conduct 45 campaigns in 10 cities in low and middle income countries to contribute to reducing road deaths and injuries. The focus of those campaigns was on speeding, drink driving, helmet wearing and seatbelt wearing, but today we're going to be particularly focusing on the speeding campaign research. The 10 cities that the program focused on during 2015 to 2019 were Bogota, Colombia, Fortaleza and São Paulo in Brazil, Accra in Ghana, Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, Mumbai in India, Shanghai in China, Bangkok in Thailand, Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam, and Bandung in Indonesia. The cities that we're going to focus on in terms of the research that I'll be talking to you about today are Bogota, Fortaleza, Accra, Addis Ababa, Bangkok, Ho Chi Minh City, and Bandung. In each of these 7 cities, message testing studies were undertaken to look at guiding the development of road safety mass media campaigns to contribute to reducing deaths and injury on the road. And in each of those studies, between 5 and 10 different road safety advertisements were tested in terms of their perceived effectiveness by drivers. Those advertisements were taken from previous campaigns that had been run in different parts of the world, so there are already well-developed communication advertisements. But the question came, what type of road safety ads are going to be rated by drivers as the most effective in terms of personally engaging them and as effective in motivating them to avoid speeding when driving? And we couldn't look at all the different individual ads, so we had to look at grouping those ads into a particular style of executional style and then look at which of those then does seem to have been rated by drivers in these cities as being most engaging and effective. The consistent methodology was applied in these studies across the 7 cities over that period. Approximately, it was using a focus group design with approximately 10 participants in each group. And in each city, the number of participants varied between 77 and 120 per study. The range was 18 to 44-year-olds, with approximately half of the driver participants being 18 to 29 and the other 30 to 44. And they were all regular drivers. So within the overall analysis that we're talking about today, 715 drivers involved. The ratio was for male to female groups was 2 to 1. There's a quantitative rating exercise, and I'll take you through those indicators, and that was followed by a qualitative group discussion in each one of these studies. Today, we're only focusing on the quantitative data from the ratings. 34 different road safety ads were involved across these 7 studies. And while we, of course, weren't able to look at individual ads, and because the power of comparison of effectiveness would be too low, what we wanted to do, as I mentioned, is have these different sorts of categories. So independent raters rated the whole 34 different ads and categorized them into 4 different categories. Instructional executional style, which primarily focuses on information or a demonstration of the risks of speeding or instruction about how to avoid speeding. Consequence type of ads, which will primarily focus on showing the consequences of speeding, either to drivers or to others. Testimonial type of ads, which primarily focus on a personal story of harm of either the person speaking or of the significant other talking about that harm. Or enforcement ads, which primarily focus on the risk of being detected and the scale of punishment associated with that. So each of all that 34 ads were grouped into those 4 different categories, and that was the basis for the analysis. In the different cities, there were different numbers of different category ads. The number of ads ranged from 5 in Addis Ababa study right up to 10 ads in Ho Chi Minh City and in Accra. And we can see that the distribution, as I mentioned, is different across the different cities, but overall 24 consequence type of ads were tested, 22 instructional type of ads, 8 enforcement ads, and 4 testimonial ads. The consistent protocol that was applied in each of these studies was that participants were shown the first ad twice, and then were asked to rate on a scale from strongly agree to strongly disagree whether they thought the ad was easy to understand, taught me something new, made me stop and think, was believable, was relevant to me, makes me more concerned about speeding when I'm driving, makes me more likely not to speed when I'm driving, is an effective anti-speeding ad, and is an ad that I would talk to other people about. So the potential score on any one ad then was between 9 and 45. And so here's the results of that analysis of the quantitative ratings across the 7 studies. The I-score, which is the mean score of instructional type ads, was 40.2 with a 95% confidence interval there of 39.8 to 40.6. The C-score, the mean score of the consequence style ads, 38.3 with a 95% confidence interval of 37.8 to 38.8. The T-score, testimonial style ads, 37.7 with a confidence interval of 36.9 to 38.5. And the E-score, enforcement style ads, 35.2 with a confidence interval of 34.5 to 35.9. So you can see there is some difference in the numbers and the levels of rating of the different studies, but significantly there's differences, and I'll just take you through that. So the mean rating score across the 7 studies for instructional road safety ads was significantly higher than for consequence ads, testimonial ads, or enforcement ads. The mean rating scores for consequent ads and testimonial ads were not significantly different from each other, but they were higher than for the enforcement ads, and the mean rating scores for the enforcement ads was lower than for each of the other 3 executional categories. It's probably not surprising that the consequence style ads and the testimonial ads were not significantly different from each other, because they're both still really talking about and showing consequences of speeding. So the findings from the analysis for these speeding message testing studies found that adopting an instructional executional style, focusing on demonstrating the risks of speeding and instructions about avoiding speeding, was perceived by drivers in these cities as more personally engaging and motivating for them to avoid speeding than other executional styles which simply focused on showing the consequences of speeding or speeding enforcement. In some cities, there wasn't a significant difference, in Bogota, for instance, between those consequence styles and instructional styles, but generally across the studies, these significant differences emerged. So the findings for the speeding campaigns don't necessarily generalise to other road safety behaviours, such as drink driving or helmet wearing or seatbelt wearing, and we're currently looking at the data from those quantitative rating message testing studies to see what style of executional ads are going to be most effective in those behaviours as well. But analysing findings from formative research studies like this on road safety campaigns can make a valuable contribution to innovating road safety communication design by drawing from the learnings from looking at these type of ads through the eyes of of drivers themselves, and so we can be better at engaging drivers to take action to ensure a safer future for all road users. Thanks very much for viewing.